protecting ourselves with gold or even silver.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. What gives you that idea about having to protect ourselves? Meaning protecting against what? The worthless of dollar going to be?
Actually, maybe I should share with you my journey itself, how I went into this. And I've been in the corporate world all my life, up until 2016 or thereabouts, where we had a restructuring and I was retrenched. So I was doing my own things, and 2017 and 2018, if you remember, the US Federal Reserve was doing QT, quantitative tightening, and the market was starting to pull back, one after another, with small little increases in the interest rate. You can see the market reacting, and it really looked like it's going to go into a recession. So I started researching. Before that, I was 110% into my job. I've got no time for anything else.
Yes, I agree.
You know what it's like.
Yes.
So now that I have a bit of time to do researching, I actually went and did quite a bit of researching into, what happened in a recession.
Of course, okay.
And the most recent one was the global financial crisis, the 2008 Lehman crisis.
Yes.
Now, when I dug in and look at the series of events, that brought this about, one thing became very clear. The global financial system is very fragile. And not many people are actually aware that it came this close to collapsing.
Sure.
What do I mean by collapsing? You may want to be going to the bank, and the bank is not open. You cannot do your online transaction, the ATM does not.
That sounds scary.
It sounds scary, but we came that close to it in 2008.
Okay.
Now what is even scarier is that, it was brought about by the mortgage-backed securities,
Yes,
or the derivatives that are linked to it. Now, we sort of been given a chance after 2008 to fix that problem.
By right, yes.
In reality, we did not fix it.
We go deeper.
Very much deeper. Some analysts actually estimated that the entire world's derivative is actually greater than the entire GDP of the world.
Right.
That's how much we're exposed to. Let me give you another example. Deutsche Bank. Their exposure to derivatives is bigger than the GDP of the EU. One bank. And we know how things are very interlinked.
Right.
How interlinked is we're in Singapore. But did we escape the last crisis, the 2008 crisis? No, it hit us. And that was a relatively mild one. Because things are so interlinked there. Don't ever think that we could get away with it. We're not an island. All the banks are interconnected. The monetary system is interconnected. Now that is something very scary.
Correct.
And if you look at that scenario where I just mentioned about the financial system collapsing, and the big question is, what's going to happen out of this? Can we possibly wake up the next day and say, oh my God, the dollar bills I have in my pocket are worth half as much. And what is it going to be worth the day after that? These are possible scenarios. Now, if I were to be talking to you in this manner 2 years ago, some people may find that I should be locked up in a mental institute, wearing a tinfoil hat.
Possible,
Possible. But those kind of scenarios are actually not too far-fetched today, if you really know what is happening out there.
Yes.
Mainstream media news may not tell you as much.
Yes.
But we are actually in a very deep hole.
Yes.
And so deep that the probabilities are very much in favor of precious metal. When I say precious metal, I mean gold and silver mainly. this seems to be the most reliable hedge out of this, not just because of inflation,
Yeah.
but there are potential collapses of economies, of financial system, maybe even of the US dollar. And one more thing is that today's world is not as peaceful, I should say, as 2008. What do I mean by that? Look at the tension between the US and China. I mean, to know what possible outcomes there may be, I think we sometimes have to keep intact.
Yes.
Keep our fingers on the pulse of the geopolitical arena.
Yes.
Now, have you heard of Professor Kishore Mahbubani?
A little bit only.
He's a Singaporean. He's the head of the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. Yeah. He's actually, in my opinion, one of the best person to get a good perspective of the tension between the US and China today.
Alright.
He's very objective. And certainly is a person who is well qualified to talk about this matter. Because he has been, apart from being the dean of corporate faculty, he has been Singapore's ambassador to the US for 2 terms. And he has spoken to think tanks. Yeah.
Right.
People like Henry Kissinger and pick their brains on what is happening. Now, it's scary. To be honest with you, I'm scared. Yeah. Why? Because if you look at what is happening, US is now opening that origin of COVID question again. Why, you may ask yourself, is this another weapon of mass destruction that we saw just before the Iraq war? Yeah. So questions like this are, I would say, they're worthy of asking. Yeah. It's not a tinfoil question. And in reality, if you listen to what Professor Kishore Mahbubani is saying, the US is about to lose its primacy, hegemony, #1 position. Yeah. Can the US take it? A simple question is that. They may not be able to take it. Yeah. Suddenly it said, oh no, I'm #2, and I'm not just #2, I'm #2 to China, to some Chinese, some Asian. Can they handle it?
Yeah.
So that's a big question here. And I hope we don't end up in some conflict. Because don't forget anything. Yeah. This is not Iraq we're talking about. It's a modern China, which is also a nuclear powered nation with vastly improved military today.
Yeah.
We hope we don't go to that extent. Yeah. But all these potential crises, gold and silver, in my opinion, and in the opinion of quite a few analysts that I've come across, gold and silver is the best hedge. How much they can go to, I wouldn't know. And to be honest with you, price is not what matters the most. You are buying an insurance policy. Yep, some people say it costs you money to store gold and all that, When you buy an insurance policy, you pay a premium. This is the small premium that you pay to get a good night's sleep, knowing that if all else failed, I can take my silver, I can take my gold, I can go and barter for a chicken or a loaf of bread. That is why I sleep a lot better.
Okay guys, so then here is a belief of like we should be holding more gold and silver rather than the paper money, because like potentially, as you mentioned, that we could be coming for some kind of a Great Depression that is probably worse than the 2008 financial crisis, right?
Absolutely.
And he has already started to have the vision to start accumulating that gold and silver. Is it in bars? Or
yes,
coins?
some coins, very few coins.
Right.
My wife prefers coins. That for the aesthetic of it, to me, is what matters is the base metal itself.
Because I was thinking, like, if you were to invest in bars, Then when we need to go and barter trade for our chickens and meat, I wonder how we're going to cut into some small pieces.
More difficult for gold.
Yeah.
Because gold is much higher value than silver. That's why keeping silver and keeping smaller bars of silver makes sense. Yeah.
True.
Okay. Gold is just a very dense collection of wealth, of value.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have to run for your life, you can very easily run with a few kilos of gold. But for that same value, you probably need to push a wheelbarrow of silver bars.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's how I look at it sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's good to have both. Yeah.
So should we be just getting some gold or silver jewelries, and then that could also be exchanged?
Absolutely.
That's another.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
Now, in certain areas in India,
right. Correct. Okay.
Villagers tend to buy silver jewelry when they have a bountiful harvest.
Yes.
And when the harvest isn't so good, you can see some of the silver jewelries coming onto the market. So what they're basically wearing on their body is their savings account.
Oh.
It's their savings account. Yes.
That's a new perspective. So we're wearing our saving account out. That's quite dangerous.
Yes, you can say so, but in our culture, I mean, we Asian cultures, especially more further east than where India is, we tend to favor gold when it comes to jewelry. I'm not saying that Indians do not favor gold. In fact, India has been buying a lot of gold recently.
Oh, okay. In fact, not just India. I believe like China, all the big boys are in fact, whether secretly or not too sure whether openly, they are actually looking into investing into tons of gold. I'm not too sure whether they will dig some hole somewhere and bury their gold somewhere, or because I don't think putting in the banks are also safe for them. Yeah. So we should be in fact mirror the big boys of starting to whether is it carry goals, invest gold, hold goals, or even probably silver, right? As what you mentioned, as like a form of probably financial crisis security or some kind of insurance to buffer the impact of in the event that the paper money really becomes worthless. At least you have something physical asset that is valuable to exchange, right? And since the big boys also has been accumulating that pieces of metals, right? So in fact, we could also be exchanging with the big boys then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
At the point of time. So it seems like so when we have been accumulating, I believe that is for the very near future. We doesn't know when, right? But like what you mentioned, because it's insurance meaning that we really mitigate the unforeseen risk that's going to come in. Because my next question is keeping gold and silver, but it's putting down there, it seems like an opportunity cost to us. Unless it's but because that's why if it's insurance, it becomes the buffer that in the event, the prediction, the speculations of the extreme printing of the dollar and became money, paper money eventually became really worthless. We still have something to back us, up that we our lifestyles are not affected compared to the rest that's don't even have any jewelries in fact in their body. Is that what I
yes, I think
summarized?
you have summarized that very well. Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. Perhaps you can share with us a little bit more of do we hold or invest in that physical metals or that precious metal? Should we keep it with the bank or with some vault or probably at home, which is a safer way, or we just carry it on our body?
You can. I mean, I think Singapore is a relatively safe society.
How about other countries?
I wouldn't be too sure,
Okay.
but the one advice that people in the gold community, those into physical gold and silver, have been given is to try to keep it outside of the system. What do I mean by outside the system? The financial system. For example, if I were to keep my precious metal in a safety deposit box in a bank,
is it really safe?
Exactly, and it is probably that in the moments that you need it the most, i.e. when your ATM is not working and your online transfer cannot be effected through the internet, like you want to access your gold.
Right, okay.
It is very likely that the banks may not be open, or the safety deposit may not be open. So for that reason, people say keep it outside of the system if you can.
Okay.
And there are even those who say, keep it within a short distance whereby you can access it within a relatively short time. There's no point keeping it in a vault in Switzerland because if you can't even get a flight to go to Switzerland to withdraw it.
Yes. The emergency needs when really such a crisis happened.
Absolutely.
I suppose that we have to be within our reach quickly, that we do have our this physical investment, this physical assets that we have been for this intended purpose of investing on it to be quickly for our advantage use.
Absolutely.
Right? Yes, correct. And okay, that's really good advice, Ben. So that is very encouraging. But now that in fact, I believe like even Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Poor Dad author, even Jim Rogers, the commodities guru, in fact they have all advocated it is even more pressing for us now to really look into holding some gold and silver, right? It's really, yes, like what you have mentioned, really to safeguard our own financial interests, in the event of like really the fiat dollars really became worthless. So I suppose that this is very important, significant piece of information that even retail like me and you can really look into, because sometimes like buying bars of gold, it seems like the big boys are have the more muscles, financial muscles to look into that, comparing to the more working retail guys, right? So, but you give some idea that perhaps even precious metals that such as jewelry, small items, that could be even easier for us to do barter trade also. So because anyway, that is the whole idea of planning for the event that we cannot use our cash anymore. We still have something that we can quickly exchange as really of value, and we can eventually also call the shots.
Absolutely.
By then, it will suddenly be a switch of the wealth transfer, and suddenly whoever that holds most of the precious metal became the richest folks, probably in that area itself. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's really exciting, and we'll come back to expound a little bit more, pertaining to why gold and silver and why probably now also. Right. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and even click on the bell button so that you will not miss any sessions that we have with some of our even trading entrepreneurs. And now the topic, very much pressing topic, is why gold and silver. Right, catch up with you again. Thank you